This is the Close the Deal podcast. I'm Ewell Smith, and I've got Tom Cox here. We're going to address one key problem. He is a former college football player and a banking strategist. Tom, welcome to Close the Deal podcast.
I appreciate it so much. It's been so much fun talking to you off camera. I can't wait till you dive in.
Let me ask you this key question. What's
Okay.
the most dangerous thing you see business owners doing today?
Being great at their craft, but not understanding the financial part of running a business.
Okay.
I think that you've got a guy that can build a deck, and he's a really good deck builder, but he doesn't understand numbers. You got Susie that makes the best cupcakes in town, but Susie doesn't understand how to scale and understand the dollars, the inflows and the outflows. All she's known is the ladies in her Sunday school class love her cupcakes, and they all say, you should start a restaurant or you should start a bakery, when in reality, she's a heck of a chef, but she can't count to 5 without help.
That's very true. I see that. You and I were talking and emailing back and forth. My background, working with chefs in New Orleans. A lot of chefs are great chefs, but when it comes to turning them into a business where they're going to scale beyond that, a lot of times they don't even get through the first restaurant because it's an art form to them rather than a business.
That's a great example. I thrived in the food business because I was a really good cook. I don't even consider myself a chef. I cook better than 90% of people walking planet Earth, but I would not consider myself a chef. I wasn't a trained chef. What I learned was I understood dollars, inflow and outflow. So I understood how to manage money and how to see profit margin, how not to do certain things and needed to do certain things. So I understood that world. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's why we had the success in the food business when most successful food businesses fail. Before, make it super clear. I don't own a restaurant. Okay, own catering companies. So here's the philosophy that we use. We only have business sections where we know exactly how much to spend and buy. So every dollar that comes into our building, I know that it's going out. So for example, catering. I know that there's a party for 100 and I know how much chicken, green beans, and mashed potatoes I've got to make. I also feed a small college here in Birmingham, Highlands College, which is one of the best ministries university on planet Earth. And so I get the privilege of working with them and feeding all their students. I know how many students are coming to lunch. So I buy that amount. And then the vending portion of what we do based off of historicals, we have a little waste, but we don't have a lot of waste. Right. And we're able to cross-pollinate those meals in that machine. And so our business doesn't have a lot of waste. And when you don't have waste in a food business, you can make some real money.
Yeah, I see that all the time. In the food business, the margins are so tight to start with. So how do you help businesses today? We were talking about some experience you just recently had. You've laid the framework of so many businesses. Sure. I come from the franchise world. I go to trainings, and one of the mentors we work with the brand I work with, the Painter One, the first slide, the first day of training is know your numbers.
Know your numbers. The crazy thing is I was sitting at lunch 12 minutes ago with a guy that owns a fence company.
Okay.
He is a stud, can print money. He is so good. He started 3 businesses in 3 years, and all in the first year, each business has done over $1 million.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. He's so good at creating money, creating demand, the marketing, the advertising, even the execution. But where he falls off a little bit and where he could be making more and cycling more money into his system is he doesn't totally understand the finance part.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about where does your money go? Where are you pulling it from? How are you using it? And how are you cycling money? So where we help business owners, investors, and even high W-2 people is we help them set up a banking system. Banking is the number one business in all of the world. Banking is the number one business in all of the world, and it will never change.
Right.
And if we can take that function back in our lives through a process we call infinite banking, we can dramatically change how business owners use money, view money, and cycle the cash that's in their business. That's what we do. We help people with that process.
What's to course correct somebody that's obviously, so using the fencing guy. I mean, I love it. The analogy of this because there's several franchises in the fencing business, and they go in and they buy a brand like his and they scale it, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to bring those numbers. They're going to bring the P&Ls to the table to scale that business so they can actually market to sell it. How do you get somebody on track?
Number one, you got to look at the numbers and see what they're doing. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I use the word cycle. How do you cycle dollars? Where are dollars coming in and where are dollars going out? Okay. But then in business, you hear the term all the time. I'm putting it back in my business. What in the heck does that mean? It's a buzzword. Oh, I'm just putting it all back in my business. Well, what are you doing? Like what? Are you buying equipment? Are you doing marketing? Are you buying employees? Or what are you doing? So where that money resides when it comes in is extremely important. No business will thrive without having margin. What is margin? Margin is the difference between what you bring in and what you spend. There's a balance in there. It's called profit, but after all the bills are paid and you're paid and your lights are on, where does the margin reside? If the margin is residing in a checking account or a savings account that's drawing no interest, then you're on a fast track to not growing your wealth. So what we do is we say, hey, how do we take that banking function back in our life? How do we cycle money through what we call the infinite banking concept? So where the money flows in there, it builds and it continues to build cash value in that policy so that we can use that like the banking function in our life. So instead of me going to First National Bank down the road to say, hey, John, I need to borrow 20 grand for so-and-so. You build this bank in your own system and you use that money in and out like you would a bank. Because if you had a loan at a bank and they said, hey, you need to pay this back, that's the first thing you're going to do. Why would you treat your money any differently? So where this idea came from was a guy named R. Nelson Nash, who was an Austrian economist. One of the examples that he uses when he teaches this is Coca-Cola, when they would build factories, they would take loans from a bank. Even though they had the cash, they would take loans from a bank because they didn't want to tie up their cash, and they would use that money to build factories. And then they come across this concept called EVA, or economic value added, where they said, okay, we're going to take $10 million and we're going to build this factory. We're going to use our own cash, but we're going to pay ourselves back. Like we would pay back that loan at 5% or 7% or 8% interest. We're going to pay ourselves back. And so instead of paying that bank back, we're going to put the money back in our coffers and we're going to use EVA, economic value added, and we're going to pay ourselves back 7% interest. And so what they found is their profit margin skyrocketed over the course of the next 5 to 15 years because they were cycling that money back into their system. Profits went up, shareholder price. Nelson started teaching this concept of what he called infinite banking. But the mechanism used is a whole life cash value policy, properly structured. So cash value life insurance is the mechanism. This isn't your dad's whole life policy that was all death benefit. What we do is we take these cash value life insurance policies and we do as little a death benefit as we possibly can. And then we load as much cash as we possibly can because this is in essence a banking function not used for death benefit, even though there is a death benefit.
That's the way that's the first thing you do with these folks. Get them using that product.
You have to teach first because infinite banking is caught. It's not taught. You have to catch the system. Okay, I get it. Because if you don't get it, you can't. My dad used to say, son, you can't push a rope. You can't push somebody that doesn't want to be pushed in the right direction. If they don't understand it, there's not a whole lot I can do with them.
All right. We're going to land it right there because we're going to come back with your contact information. One question before we go. What is your definition of closing the deal?
Hiring people that are better than you to do the jobs that you are not great at.
I like that. That's a new one. I haven't heard this one before. Makes sense.
When I was coaching in college football at NC State University, Chuck Amato was the head coach. He was a brilliant guy. Loved him like a father for those 2 years that I was with him. He would always say, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you got to get into another room.
I agree.
But he would say, I want to hire people that are better than I am at the thing. He goes, I know about all of the positions that you coach, but everybody in the room is a better specific position coach than I am.
Love it.
I know all of what you're doing, but you are better at that single position than I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to hire people that are better at things than I am. I'm really good at a handful of things, but I can't be good at all of them. I got to do all the jobs to start. But once I grow and my capacity starts to shrink, I've got to hire people that are better at said tasks than I am.
How do people get in touch with you so you can help them straight out their finances and keep some more cash for themselves?
There's two different ways. My website is thomascox.co. And then we've got a training that we do. We give it away. It's called ibc.money. You go there. We do a 3-part training. It's free. You learn all about what infinite banking does. It dips your toe in the proverbial water of owning your own bank.
Folks, if you find this information helpful today, go to visit closethedeal.com. We're going to have the show notes from Tom. You'll have some other resources there, and you know the drill. Be intentional and make today a great